this is Professor Poyo, and we will be talking about Chapter 13, Engaging Children with Literature. This is by far one of the most practical chapters in this textbook. The authors emphasize a foundational principle of teaching, engaging your learners. We're reading this chapter early on in the course to provide the foundational thinking needed for you to create ideas for using your 30-plus selected books in the classroom and in some sort of a cross-curricular manner. This chapter will provide you with ideas for engaging your students and motivating them with literature. Examples of how to engage them by reading widely, reading critically, and reading strategically. So the goal is to engage the students in order to develop motivated, knowledgeable, and strategic readers. When students are engaged, motivated, and knowledgeable, then they're equipped to think critically and solve problems. So a question that comes to mind is, what exactly does an engaged learner look like? Think about that. Think about maybe your own experiences when you felt like what you were studying you were very excited about. Think of ideas of what you would imagine an engaged learner to look like. Let us then begin to examine how we want our students to read. We want them to read widely, critically, and strategically. Reading widely refers to students spending a generous amount of time reading a variety of texts and genres that often are self-selected and that are of interest to them. Perhaps they're reading for enjoyment, or they may be reading for inquiry, to learn about something that they're intrigued in or interested in. The teacher's job, though, is to provide scheduled and structured times for the students to read. It's also important to have a wide variety of interesting reading materials for your students. Now, these reading materials can be actual trade books. They could also be e-books, or they could be books that they create themselves on something like Storybird, which here's the link for that, and as you are playing around in the digital sandbox, you'll see that tool in there as well. It's awesome for students to be able to go there and create their own books, their own stories. They don't have to worry about creating their own artwork because it's already there for them. All they have to do is type in the text. In the classroom, the experiences that we as educators may structure as opportunities for learning through wide reading include those that are listed here, like read-alouds or storytelling, independent reading, book talks, shared reading, readers' theater, audiobooks, digital books, DVDs, videos, and even plays. Reading aloud to children serves many purposes. You may want to read from the series of unfortunate events to help your students gain new vocabulary through the delightful approach the author uses to include the reader in his thinking aloud. Or you may choose to read poems from Shel Silverstein's Where the Sidewalk Ends to help your students become aware of literary devices. Then again, you may want to build background knowledge for math by reading a book called The Weight of a Mass. There's a video for you to watch in Blackboard regarding read-alouds. Make sure you view this and are aware of how to perform a read-aloud, as that is one of the tasks you'll be completing in this course. In addition to utilizing read-alouds as part of your structured reading, wide reading can be accomplished through independent reading as well. Motivate your students with this goal. Make sure your classroom is well stocked with interesting and varied literature. Entice your students by using book talks performed by not only yourself, but the students, parents, visitors, anyone who you believe has the ability to encourage a habit of reading. These can be performed in person, or maybe you want to use a technology like Skype and have someone from a whole, all the way across the world to give some sort of a book talk or even a read aloud for your students. But whatever you do, allow your students time to talk to each other about what they're reading. And also by talking about retellings, using retellings. Oftentimes, books that we really enjoy or that we are motivated to read, we hear about via word of mouth. Another strategy for providing opportunities for wide reading include all the varieties of shared reading. There are big books that you can use with younger students during circle time, choral reading where everyone reads together, and partner reading, which can be a pairing of student to student or even teacher to student. All of these strategies are excellent for fluency practice as well. Reader's Theater utilizes scripts and divides the text into parts, just like a play. Practicing and performing these texts are both engaging and effective for many components of reading instruction. The authors of your text will deepen your understanding and appreciation of this form of literature as you read through their ideas and even the examples that they give to you. Using high-quality text to engage your students in a deep understanding of themselves, other cultures, social issues, and even content allows them to become critical readers. We must make opportunities for our students to not only read widely, many different types of texts and reading very often, but also thinking deeply about literature, sharing in a conversation about what they've read. The resource listed here is one that provides numerous tools for digital storytelling. These tools can help our students inquire, dig, and learn. This website will be available for you on Blackboard. Literature circles is a very appropriate environment for this to transpire. Engaging in discussion and conversation may require practice as well as intentional modeling of what is appropriate feedback in this type of situation. Creating an environment where our students feel safe to share is critical and sometimes takes a bit of time. Responding to text can be not only verbal or oral response, but you can also use written response, and you can be quite creative with that. As an example, I created a Padlet for us. This technology used to be called WallWisher and was very popular with my students. Please go to this site listed here and respond to the prompt. Definitely use ideas from the chapter. And you can see right there at the bottom the http padlet.com Espoyo responding to lit. Reading strategically requires reflection on both the text and the process. When students struggle in their reading, they need to have a wide variety of strategies to use to fix it up in order for them to comprehend what they're reading. Some of these strategies are listed here. The authors go into great detail to express the value of these strategies, such as guided reading, guided comprehension, conferencing, mini lessons, genre studies, and even author studies. Remember that this is not an exhaustive list, but do make sure that you're familiar with when and why you would use these strategies. Literature across the curriculum. When we speak of cross-curricular literature, we're referring to the use of literature to replace or supplement textbooks in content areas such as science, social studies, math, etc. These texts have many positive effects, as is displayed here. They're typically more interesting than a textbook due to its varied literary devices, and often we see alternative perspectives or content from a child's view. Trade books are able to focus in on specific concepts and provide in-depth information. Stories are generally more memorable than textbooks and allow for students to expand their thinking and actually get into what's happening with the characters. Teachers who draw on various types of texts for their instruction have discovered that literature has power to educate the mind and enlighten the spirit. Finally, we end with Olivia, a character that if you're not familiar with, has a great deal of passion for life. She's quite useful for engaging your students, displaying the potential locked in each one of us. Her zeal and excitement are captivating as she invites the reader to continue to share in her adventures by reading more. I hope you enjoy the chapter, and make sure that you look at the PowerPoint. There's a check for understanding at the very end. Have a wonderful day, and God bless you.